Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for die-hard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. A big shout out to my subscribers. And if you love the Bengals, hate the Squealers, be sure to bang that subscribe button. If you're a die-hard, you already know the drill. Be sure to hit that notification button so you can be a part of Notification Squad. And if you think AB needs Big Ben, then be sure to like this video. So I wanted to do a scouting report on the Carolina Panthers. They made several offseason moves. The biggest one was adding offensive coordinator Norv Turner, so he is able to put his own offense behind none other than Cam Newton. They also traded for Torrey Smith, and they drafted a wide receiver in DJ Moore. So first things first, let's start off with talking about Cam Newton, aka Superman. Cam is coming off of a 3-touchdown performance against the Atlanta Falcons on the road. And as I stated on NSC Live with G, Cam is basically the heart and soul of this Panthers team, so it begins and ends with him. He is the head of the snake. If you want to beat the Panthers, you have to cut the head off of the snake. But this snake is like an anaconda because this guy has athleticism, size, and skill. He's arguably, possibly, if my memory serves me correctly, he's probably the most talented quarterback that the Bengals will actually face this season. And he's also a guy that if you can contain him, that's how you beat the Carolina Panthers. You look at the first game, well, not the first game, but the second game. Well, actually the first game, I'm sorry. Even though the Cowboys lost to them, they did a good job of containing him. He didn't have many touchdowns. I don't think he even threw for any touchdowns, period. But they did a good job of containing him. They just didn't put enough points up on the board. Moving on to the offensive line. It's better than it has been in recent years, but they are still hurt. So last week, I think they saw about 3 guys or 3 starters miss time. And so far, the main reason why this group has been solid is based on last year's draft pick, Taylor Moton, who was a tackle and arguably is considered the best player on their line according to Pro Football Focus. And his name might sound familiar to some of you Bengals fans because the Bengals were actually interested in this guy last year. I believe it was around the Senior Bowl or something to that nature. Their second best lineman is their center, Ryan Khalil. I'm not sure exactly how you say that. And he should provide a pretty decent matchup for Geno Atkins. However, there's a guy by the name of Chris Clark. I'm not sure if he's going to start this game or not, but he would be the member of this group to try to take advantage of. At the running back position, to me, the strength of this offense is the running back position outside of Cam, obviously. And it starts with Ed McCaffrey's son, Christian McCaffrey, who in my opinion is the next best player on the Panthers offense. And I think that this guy really gives me a cause for concern because he fits the bill of certain runners who've been able to have success against the Bengals in the past at least. And he's not afraid to run between the tackles, and he can also create when he gets space, and he catches the ball like a wide receiver. I mean, that's a pretty lethal guy to have. So even if he doesn't get you in the running game, he can definitely get you in the receiving game. And he could really prove to be a big challenge for the Bengals linebacking core. And backing him up is C.J. Anderson, who's more of a bruiser, but he kind of received a decent amount of playing time against Atlanta, and he looked pretty decent as well. Speaking of decent, let's talk about the wide receiver position. I think at receiver, it starts with Devin Funchess. He's a tall, physical red zone threat. Probably their most targeted receiver and probably their most reliable receiver. Outside of him, you've got Torrey Smith, who really hasn't done much since he left the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is maybe his 3rd team since then. Hasn't really done much. But in the slot, a guy that you really want to keep your eye on, he's somewhat of a secret weapon for them that's a really reliable receiver, is Jarius Wright. And I could argue that Jarius Wright is actually the second player on Carolina that the Bengals should be paying attention to, especially with Greg Olsen out with an injury. But last but not least, the forgotten guy in this mix is rookie DJ Moore. And although he's not a starter, it seems like their coaching staff wants to get him involved with more opportunities. I'm not sure exactly why he hasn't played as much as he should, but he's another guy that we have to definitely keep an eye out for. He's a pretty good deep threat, a guy with some great speed that could give the Bengals some problems. I mean, this guy was a first-round pick, so definitely a talented guy. At the tight end position, as I stated earlier, obviously they took a big hit there with Greg Olsen, and they don't really have someone there to actually be able to replace him. They have a guy by the name of Ian Thomas, but he is nowhere in the stratosphere of Greg Olsen. So the Bengals defense may actually catch a break at the tight end position. On defense, however, they face arguably the best linebacker in the league. In Cincinnati's own Luke Kuechly. Obviously, Kuechly is a stud. What else is there really to say? This guy can cover, he can read offenses, and he's just a straight-up playmaker that the Bengals will have to account for. On the defensive line, I think this is their second strength here, and they're going to have their hands full. You got a talented front that features Kawan Short, Mario Addison, veteran Julius Peppers, and you also have the nose tackle that they signed in this offseason with Dante Repo. He's a pretty athletic guy. Has had some issues so far this season, but could easily rebound against the Bengals, and this will be a very solid group to actually test us. The corners, however, seem somewhat on the weak side and could be susceptible to some big plays, but they do, however, have some decent safeties over the top in Mike Adams and Denoris Searcy. So overall, I think this will be a tough road game for the Bengals to pull out, and they'll need to shut down Cam in order to get out of here with a W. I mean, it's obvious. I think anybody that plays the Carolina Panthers know that you have to stop Cam Newton. But as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.